Hello everyone and welcome back to the Public Eye Podcast, a 6-part series of podcasts brought to you by Granite Exchange here in the heart of Newry. I'm your host Sarah Travers, and today we are continuing our discussions with local Newry entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how these companies have come to be and to gain insight into their growth. So do remember to keep an eye out on your favourite podcast app and subscribe to stay up to date with future episodes. But today should be a good one. I'm joined by Cathal Grant, Managing Director of CGDM. Cathal, very welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Nice in the studio, isn't it? The podcast
Lovely.
studio. Yeah,
Lovely. It's brilliant. Very impressive for Newry.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more to you in a minute, but before we begin, as with all of the guests, I give a little bit of background into your business, so do correct me if I get anything wrong here.
No problem.
Established in 2008, the CGDM Group is an award-winning company delivering excellence in construction and professional fit-out solutions. Operating across Ireland and the UK in many sectors with offices in Newry, Dublin and London, CGDM have a trusted and confident team who consistently provide exceptional levels of service that combine quality and value. CGDM listen to their clients and they take the time to understand their complex requirements, no matter how challenging. The team have the ability to deliver in occupied and operational spaces efficiently and safely, with the company's overall aim to exceed expectations and deliver a successful project on time and on budget. But Cathal, during recent times we've been challenged perhaps more than ever as a business, as businesses and organisations, to deliver what we were doing before in the same way. How has it been for you?
It's been challenging, especially at the beginning when there was so many unknowns. And the first unknown was probably, is this going to come back? Are we going to survive? You know, because we had 6 or 7 projects on site that over the space of a week, obviously, like so many, just all came to a standstill. So huge concerns at that point about whether they were going to be starting back up, with some of them, with all of them, with none of them. So that was the challenge initially, which was obviously very personal for me, being the business owner, from starting it up to sort of almost feel like the rug was being pulled from under your feet. But gradually, I think the sense was that everyone wanted to get things going. And our challenge then was to try and demonstrate to our clients and to our staff and our subcontractors that we could do that in a safe manner. So there was quite a lot that went into getting the sites back up and running with all the necessary protections and I suppose checks.
Well, that's it. I would imagine that when you work in construction or fit out, that you would be working in very close proximity with someone else. So how was that a challenge for you to go back safely?
It was. I suppose in certain instances in the construction industry, and especially in the process that we're working on, health and safety is massive. So where I suppose we always have that level of bureaucracy that we have to work to and adhere to from a health and safety perspective, with forms and certificates and a sign off from lots of different levels for every sort of action that takes place in the site. So that just really tweaked slightly to combat the sort of immediate danger, which was obviously COVID-19. So in terms of working in close proximity, there was just procedures put in place that any time that was happening, people really had to completely gear up for that. Where they were going to be working within a metre of each other, within 2 metres of each other. There was just a process put in place that people could do that, limited to wherever just was completely necessary, but where that did happen, that it was done safely. So it was just like everything, it was an obstacle, and we came up with a solution like lots of other people have had to do, and thankfully everything's back going as well as it possibly can do.
In the right direction, which is good. And the fact that you even established in 2008, you're no stranger to kind of challenging times. I suppose that was a time when the crash happened and construction did suffer initially. How would you say you cope in a crisis?
I would say I cope relatively well. I wouldn't get too angry with anyone. I wouldn't get too upset about anything, and try to just quickly try and find a solution out of it. there's lots of challenges, there's lots of crises nearly every day in lots of different sort of levels. So everyone's got a crisis, no matter what level they're operating at or what level they're even working at or their personal lives. There's crises all around us. Look, you just have to deal with it as it comes, and as I said, not take it too personally and try and come up with a solution and move on.
I would say problem solve. I think you're being quite modest, because I think problem solving sounds like, it is a forte for you. And if you think about how your firm even came to be, that was because of a crisis as well. You were made redundant from your architectural practice in Dublin.
That's right, and I was the best one there too, which was unbelievable.
Shocking. So what happened? Take us back. What was going on? When was this?
Yeah, so it was back probably in 2008. It was in Dublin. I worked and lived in Dublin for 3 or 4 years and enjoyed it immensely, because that was, I suppose, the Celtic Tiger sort of just coming towards the end of it, and then it obviously did end very quickly. But I suppose what came about there was obviously the crash, especially in the property sort of side of things, and obviously just filtered down very quickly to the construction. I was working in a very good firm, done a lot of high-end residential projects. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed living down there. Great party life at that stage.
Well, at that stage, everybody was living like that, because you were worth it, big time.
Exactly, and look, it was a great time to be in Dublin, and I'll never regret any of that. But it just came to a very quick end, and it was very challenging for the people that were on that business, who were very good people and very kind for all their staff, and it was difficult to see them having to take into the room to say that unfortunately there's no job here, and that happened a lot of us all at the one time. So yeah, it was challenging, but look, it was needs must. So
and sometimes when you're at rock bottom and you get something like that and you lose your job, there's only one way that you can go, and you'd nothing to lose here. I suppose you needed to get to do something else. But what happened next?
Well, I continued to live in Dublin for a few months, because I was there with my friends and my girlfriend Caroline and my wife. And I suppose at that age you don't really understand the complexities of even what a recession is, to be honest. And you sort of think within a couple of months probably everything will be sorted out. So sort of probably hung about there a wee bit, sort of looking for jobs and things like that, and sort of became quickly, especially with the cost of the rent, that it wasn't going to just add up to stay down there to do that. So I moved back home.
Back to the parents?
Back in with mommy and daddy. And look, I don't ever remember being overly concerned about that or annoyed about that. I just came back home. I still enjoyed everything that I could, and began to quickly recognise that unless I was going to go overseas, there wasn't much opportunities. So I suppose I always had visions of working for myself at some point, and at that stage then I started to do some architectural work just at a local level for probably mainly family. I've come from a large family with a lot of cousins, and a lot of them were sort of starting to build their own houses at that time, and I started to do the architectural work in terms of their planning. And
there was a market there, and
well, it was probably a perfect time, because I was going to be able to do that work very cheaply for them in comparison to competitors who had a lot of overheads. I had none. So,
and is it true you were just operating in the spare room of your parents' home?
That's it. Yeah, started in there, and yeah, just sort of it just gained a bit of momentum, sort of month on month and year on year.
And how would you describe your style? Is it very identifiable, or can you change to meet the clients' needs?
Oh, you have to change to meet clients. You have to have a different hat for every client.
Is that difficult sometimes? If you think, I know what would be really fantastic, but they're adamant that you go with their style.
Well, sometimes you have to just go with what you feel is right. Now, some people may not just totally buy into that, but you have to really try and do everything you can, and that's whether it was at that time architecture or even now construction. It's the same processes. You've different clients who want different things, but ultimately, if you can work with a level of commitment and integrity, regardless of what that project is or what that process is that you're talking about, people will identify with that.
So you started out and it was family and friends first of all. You're currently employing 40 people and you've an annual turnover of 10 million, aiming for 15 million next year. So what happened in between?
Sometimes I don't know. I have to just.
It's a blur.
Yeah, you just sort of work with your head down a lot of the time.
Well, presumably you moved out from the folks' house.
We did, yeah. Moved out there because I just felt then I started to try and sort of go more towards commercial clients. And look, I don't think any of them want to really pull up at your mum and daddy's house to come in for a meeting. So I was very fortunate that, again, family and friends have always been a very important part of everything that I've done. An uncle of mine, BJ McNally on Patrick Street, had a small space and allowed me to work from there for a period of time, and then it started to grow there, where we started to sort of add 2 or 3 staff, and quickly there was no room in that room that we were in, and we moved to another building of his just 2 doors down, which is where we were up until April in 2019. But it was just a case of, I suppose my thoughts on it is always sort of trying to look longer term, and not take any shortcuts, whether that's on the job or with your clients. Like we're trying to build a future, and we're always talking about that, of today. We're always looking at a vision and building a future, and you have to think longer term. So put your clients first, so that they'll recommend you to other people, or that they'll come back to you. If you go in to try and make a quick buck or take a shortcut, the vision isn't really there. So it's just grown that way for us. We've been very lucky that we've came across some good clients at good times with a bit of luck, and it's just continually grown. And
do you take the projects big or small? Or
yeah,
do you always go for the biggies?
No, look, we probably recently have tried to focus a lot more on the client, on the teams that we'll be working with. You can get a big project that might look great, but if it's with the wrong client, it'll not go well, and no one will be happy. So we're trying to really identify at the minute now. This is, I suppose, recently we're trying to really identify the good clients that really want something more, that they want someone who's going to work to the level that they're saying they're going to do, and to as I say, work with integrity and give them what they want.
Well, you've really grown and grown, and one of the big clients that definitely jumps off the page whenever I was reading, your background, is the All England club Wimbledon. I mean, I've watched Wimbledon since I was a little girl, and how exciting was it to be appointed main contractor?
Yeah, it was great.
How did that come about?
Yeah, how did that come about? Very strangely, actually. It came about because we were tendering for projects across Europe for the jewellery company Swarovski. So we were tendering for a sort of rollout, which is to happen next year for a lot of new stores for them. It may or may not happen given circumstances, but we were pricing them, and we were in contact with a French company who came back to us with a good relationship with them during the sort of negotiating period. And they came back to us and asked would we look at partnering with a project for them in Wimbledon, and it worked out, and we're the main contractor now on a corporate fit out over there over Centre Court. So it's very exciting. Yeah, but again, it's people asked how did these things come about. It's luck, really.
And I could imagine that everything has to be just right.
Very, very, very just right.
Okay.
And there's no grey areas. It's very black and white. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have to watch your P's and Q's, and is it all very formal and proper all the time?
It is, yeah. I'm not allowed on site.
Oh, you're a liability.
I'm a liability. Yeah. So we've sent a few people that are far more professional than me over to deal with it. Yeah, no.
They
look,
wouldn't have a sin bin in tennis. Oh, they would have for John McEnroe. I suppose you'd have been all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I might have got away with it, but yeah, no. It's very much the rules
exciting.
And regulations, and that's it.
Did you watch yourself? Do you like?
I did.
Tennis?
I love Wimbledon. Yeah, and used to.
So you're the boy to get the tickets now. Is that right?
I'll have to see how the job works out.
Oh, it's fantastic. You were also named Business Person of the Year in 2018. That's the Aer Lingus Takeoff Foundation Business Awards in London. How did you feel about receiving that title? Modest again.
Yeah. Look, it's great. You know, there's no doubt about it. It's nice to get chosen for an award like that, because it hopefully shows that, you know, you're doing the right thing. You know.
You definitely keep your feet firmly on the ground. Is that anything to do with your upbringing? What did the family say about that? What did your friends say about that?
Probably both of them slagged the life out of me about it. They bring you back down to earth. You don't get away too far.
And do you think that's a good thing, though? Do you think it's that you never take anything for granted, that you're not going to rest on your laurels? You know, you have to keep plugging away.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, and I love to see it on people's CVs coming in, the farming background, you know, because that's my father, farmer. So I think you're very much feet are on the ground when you're in that industry, and we grew up working on the farm. So I think it gives you a great background, a base of, you know, that's where it starts. That there's a work ethic there, and you know you have to be there every day doing the same things pretty much, but it definitely gives you something for me to work off. And there's a great work ethic, I think, in anyone that comes from a background like that. So I love to see that on a CV, and I love to see people that play sports on a CV as well. I think if you get them two together, we're generally...
And is it a team sport you look for, or an individual?
Well, either or, because there's a sense of want, whether it's an individual, you know, someone wants to obviously take part in something and, you know, better themselves, and then the team aspect obviously is very important in terms of people wanting to be part of a team and achieve together, you know.
Were you into sport yourself?
I was, yeah. So I played football, played Gaelic for Drumgath, my local club, yeah. So we sponsor them now, actually, just
fantastic.
Incidentally. So yeah, so it's great, yeah.
You give something back as well. This podcast is sponsored by Granite Exchange. Do you need an office or a meeting room space? Granite Exchange is the ultimate serviced office and meeting room facility. Located in the heart of Newry City, it is perfectly placed between Belfast and Dublin. Each office suite is fully furnished and comes with an all-inclusive monthly fee with no long-term contract. All you have to do is show up and switch on. The rest is taken care of. For more information, call 028 3044 2500 or visit www.granite-exchange.com. So take us back a bit, because I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but you talked about that first premises that you had and taking on the first couple of people. Do you remember that moment when you knew you were going to take on your first employee? You know, what was that like, and how did you worry about the responsibility of paying somebody else's wages?
Definitely. That was, you know, the first one or two people that I employed was like the biggest decision ever, you know, and I probably could potentially always be that case. I remembered like thinking about it and worrying, and you know, what happens if, you know, in a month's time I don't have work for them? I'll feel I've let them down. I feel I look stupid because suddenly I was going to, you know, not just work on my own, I was going to have other people there. And so yeah, that was I do very vividly remember that being very tough to make that decision. And you know, once, it's funny, I think after that it became relatively easy, because you sort of learnt that if people were there, you had to get the work for them, and it just kept, you know, it's nearly organic, and it's in a way, you know.
And did you ever get to that stage? I know a lot of business owners say you look for people with skills that you don't have as well. Do you look for people that are nearly better? Or, I mean, do you look for architects all the time, or who do you need in your team? What sort of people are you looking for?
So I suppose the majority of our business is fit out on construction projects that we tender or negotiate with clients, where we're purely just doing that work. So there may be a team of architects and consultants in the background that's working really with you to deliver that. There is a part of our business where we do some design work as well, which has just historically been the case because that's where I started. And so we have a bit of a mix, more so just straight construction fit out projects that we're doing through other teams. But we have designers as well in-house that help us on smaller projects that we do.
Right, so you remember taking on the first employee. Do you remember the first big project that you think, oh, this is a game changer?
Yeah, there was probably a couple of them. The first one was for Ladbrokes Bookmakers, which came about very early. That we got an opportunity to. Again, look, it's through a friend, and that's how a lot of this is. Yeah, it really is, and that's the first part. But you have to deliver then, because your friends can only get you so far.
You'd be seriously letting them down.
Exactly, yeah. So there was a friend of mine that worked in there, and we got an opportunity to tender some projects, and we started then doing refurbs for their shops.
So that's the thing. It is a tender process. It's not like, okay, you start on Monday.
No, absolutely not. No, you have to go in and convince. Look, I mean, at that stage I was probably 24, 25. So you have, and my friend would have been the same age, so he doesn't have a say in who's going to do the work. You have to go in and, as you said, do a presentation and then tender the work. And if both line up, you'll get an opportunity. So that was probably because that was a massive. I mean, Ladbrokes are a PLC, and that was at a stage when I probably was only one or two people in the business. So to get that opportunity really then gained us leverage for moving forward. That we were able to have that name on a page to say we do the work for them, and it's like Wimbledon at the minute for us. I mean, that's going to just do the exact same thing, because if you're the project Wimbledon is actually for Rolex. It's their corporate box. So when we're able to say that we work for these guys, a lot of people would take a lot of confidence from that, and that's what we're hoping for.
Oh my goodness, isn't that fantastic? And do you pinch yourself some days?
No, don't tell you. One of my three boys probably kicked me. That gets me sorted.
Gets you sorted. So, I mean, you're talking about that massive gig at 25, and then the pressure, like, you have to deliver now. So, it's one thing winning the tender, but knowing that you have to deliver. That opened up doors for you. How important would you say networking and helping others and giving, the business to business recommendations, is that something that you do? Do you operate within the chamber? Are you in a network of?
Yeah, well, I'm not as in a network just at the minute, but I'm in the Uri chamber, and there, we get so much support and benefits from being in there. Colm and Jessica and that up there is just fantastic to deal with, in any time that you're looking, questions on anything, and support and the information that they come with on a monthly basis, and anything they can do to promote our business, they always do it. It's so I think that's brilliant. I think everyone should really look into joining the chamber. You do get so much out of it. I was previously in a networking club that ran out of the Canal Court. That was good as well at the beginning, because it started to just get your name out there, open doors, and again just speak to people who were probably in the same position of you, that were looking for opportunities to grow their business, and passing sort of names to each other and referrals about potential opportunities. So it's very important, especially locally, that everyone does sort of help out where they can for each other.
And Cathal, before you come in here today, everybody sort of said, "Oh, Cathal's great. He'll have no problem talking." All of these things. Do you have a bit of a reputation for the gift of the gab? But is that what people see whenever you go to tender? I don't know if you do the pitches anymore for the business, but why is it that you think people from Northern Ireland do so well across the water and in the south when it comes to construction and design? Because we really do have a very strong reputation.
I think a lot of it is down to the personality. If you can get along with the person that you're hoping to do work with, that'll gain a lot of traction. If they can get a sense that you're genuine in what you're saying, that you're able to do, and that you've done before, and you're not talking rubbish, because people see through that very quickly. A lot of times we do get an opportunity to do presentations and go in and pitch, and I would very much do them with a couple of others. Yeah, I do enjoy going out and meet new people and seeing what opportunities they have and what their story is, and what they're working at. And you also get to hear sort of what their problems is, and that's something that we're working a lot on at the minute. We're really looking to get away from trying to be a tender where you're just the lowest number in the page, because we're trying to just give something more, and we're working on that a lot at the minute as a management team to try and.
How does that work now in a more virtual world where, I don't know, are you still on the same number of flights? Are you going over to places in the UK to pitch, or do you have to do it now through a computer screen?
Yeah, look, you're doing it a lot of the time on Zoom or Teams. And look, it's worked very well. I think you can still, come across the same way as you would in person. Maybe not just totally that way, but what I found is people actually will have more time to meet with you over Zoom. If you're trying to get a meeting with someone or get a presentation to someone that you want to sit down in front of, I think they were organising their time around that. Maybe having to travel somewhere, they might have travel to meet you in an hotel or whatever it might have been, and it was taking probably a wee bit more of their time up. Whereas now, if it's saying, look, would you give me 15-20 minutes on a Zoom call or a Teams call, it's far more easily to get accepted and to get in front of people. And as I said, that's when you have to just come across as who you are and what you do, and hopefully that they pick up on that.
There are definitely benefits that have come out of this situation as well, and one of them, I suppose, is that you maybe have a greater work-life balance. You've got 3 little boys as well, and you're married. Do you find that you've had a little more time at home than you had before?
Well, I think during that period, I suppose, of lockdown, and
too much time.
maybe too much time. Yeah. With Caroline, my wife, who works in the business, she's a director as well and a marketing manager. So.
So you're in the business together as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's great that we can do that, and we can sort of, well, mostly she'll probably work around my schedule to sort of make life balance work. But I suppose you do go ramstam at it, and I think that break really sort of put things into perspective for a lot of people and got you to understand really what was important, and be more conscious now of sort of trying to be home early, which I don't really, to be honest with you, do too much work at all. But definitely not after 7 or 8 o'clock. I wouldn't be in the office late. I wouldn't be in on Saturdays or anything that I never have done, and I don't particularly ever want to. So the time with the family and with Caroline and the boys is very important.
And what's it like working together as well? I don't know if you're with each other all the time, but do you ever think, is it challenging at times?
It's very challenging at times, yeah, probably more so for her than me. It is difficult because, I'm sure everyone can sort of relate to this. You'll not give, the person you probably should be giving the most time to, you'll not give them that time. Whereas if someone different comes to the door and says, "You've got 5 minutes," yes, no problem, sit down there. Whereas, look, I'm not one of a lot of. If Caroline comes to the door and says, "Can we chat about something?" Oh yeah, no, I'm too busy. And
you just don't speak to her the same way as you'd speak to the others, maybe.
Yeah, look, and that's you shouldn't be doing that. So it sometimes it's difficult, but it's very rewarding whenever things go well and we win a project. And she feeds a lot into the presentations. She does all of them. The marketing side of things, social media, she does all of them to help build our business, build our brand. So. It's great then when we win a project because everyone has.
You've done it together.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
With everybody, and she understands. So there are benefits to that as
Definitely,
well.
Yeah.
With your 3 little ones, would you love this to grow to become a family business?
Oh, well, of course, yeah. I think that's
where you're heading.
Yeah, I wouldn't foresee it not going that way for sure. I'd love the boys to get involved. And
now, who's been the most influential person, would you say, in your life? I know this is a big question to just throw at you, but I often wonder, are you into? You've talked about the networking groups, and you've talked about your sports. So would you have anybody that helped you in the early days, or even now, as a mentor or somebody that would guide when you don't know what decision to make? If sometimes you can feel very alone at the head of a company.
Yeah, I would have had a few people, friends and relatives that we were maybe working with, or they would have knew my business relatively well at the different stages that you would have been turning to ask for advice and to run things past. It's probably become a wee bit easier more recently. We've got a management team in place now that we sort of all make decisions together, and we talk about things, and you get the support that way. But yeah, early on it would have been a case of whether it would have been my older brother or my family, or people that I was working with that I know would have a lot of experience where I wouldn't have had at that stage, to sort of say, look, I'm in this position, this is what happened, what do you think? And no, I've always been lucky that I've always had people to turn to. In terms of...
And do you take the advice, or do you still go with your gut?
Look, I think I would take the advice, and so you asked the question earlier about, taking people on that are more experienced and smarter and all of that, different skills. Yeah, look, absolutely. That's what we look for when we're trying to make appointments. Someone who's going to better our business, and it's the people who really are your business. When we do a job, like for example in Wimbledon, I'm not there every day, so neither is the project manager on that job. It's the site manager, so you have to really make sure that the people you're putting on the ground, or the face of your business out there, understand what your vision is, what your ethos is, that they can deliver that, because they're the people that's going to really sort of show your forefront there over in Wimbledon, not us, so.
And how important is it then to invest in your staff? I mean, if you want them to be loyal to you and be the way that you want them to be seen, how much do you value them?
Hugely, and I'd like to think that we're very flexible with our staff. I think we probably showed that during COVID-19, because everyone had individual situations that they were dealing with around that, especially with childcare and all that. And we have people that work from home because they need to for different reasons. So I think we're flexible. I think we really appreciate our staff, and we, to be honest, we have a bit of crack as well. So I think it's quite a relaxed environment to work in. They work very hard. Whenever they need to do something that just needs done, they do it. But I think in general we have a bit of crack, a bit of fun.
What are the next big plans for the company then? What are you? Obviously you're bedding back down and you've got these great projects, but where next?
So as I mentioned earlier, we're really trying to go above and beyond and give some sort of value added proposition to our clients, that we really gain relationships with them, that they want us to do the work as opposed to just the cheapest person. So we're doing a lot of work in the background on that, that'll hopefully elevate us on to be dealing with clients who want a good job done by people who are professional and will do it when they say they'll do it, in the right way, that they really have a relationship, then that we become their partner. So we have a vision where we want to become an international leader in design and built environments, partnering with our clients. So their clients can be design teams, or they can be direct clients like Wimbledon or Rolex or Ladbrokes or Kingspan. We do a lot of work with Kingspan as well, which is a great company to work for. When you sort of look at the likes of their growth over the past sort of 30 or 40 years, which is just absolutely unbelievable, and you see where things can go, albeit I don't think we'll ever get to that level, but it's great they gave us a great opportunity a few years back, where we really were pitching way above our weight for a project with them. And I had an interview with one of the directors in there, and the message came back that, look, these guys deserve a chance. Kingspan started from somewhere at a time. The guys are only getting going, and they've showed us enough to take that opportunity. And we're on our third project with Kingspan now in a row. So
wonderful.
Very much, look, where we want to go is to build relationships with good clients, with better clients, and to become partners with them.
The majority of your work is in the Republic, is that right?
A lot of it would be, yeah. I suppose the last year, 18 months, doing quite a bit over in the UK as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, majority would be in around Dublin, yeah.
What about more projects like Kingspan, at home?
Yeah, I suppose I'd love to be doing them at home. Unfortunately, it's very competitive. It's very, very competitive. And for the very much reason we talked about at the beginning, there's a lot of construction companies in and around this area, and a lot of them very, very good at what they do, and they stay local, so they've got the market absolutely bang on. We're very much a management company. We have all the direct employees that I mentioned, but we don't have bricklayers, we don't have joiners, we don't have people working on our books. Everything is subcontracted pretty much out, so it's quite difficult to compete locally, because we have a lot of very good contractors here that will do very good jobs, but are working. Some of them are doing a lot of work themselves, and they have their own teams. You know, they have their own bricklayers, they have their own plasterers and stuff. So locally, I'd love to be. I'd love to be have a site 10 minutes from the office as opposed to 2 hours to the south side of Dublin. But look, we just have to.
You have to go where the
we
market
do.
wants
We
you.
do, and we're not afraid to do that. You know, we've ambitions to go to Europe and further afield as we continue to grow. So yeah, we'll not. Well, if they're local and someone wants us to do them, of course we'll more than delighted to do so.
Which do you think of all the projects you've worked on has been the most impressive, or which was the design that you thought, wow?
There's 2 over the past few years, I suppose, that spring to mind, and we won awards for both of them. One of them was Kingspan. It was an innovation centre, so extremely high tech in terms of what the building was almost capable of doing itself, and as well as that, the finishes that went into it, and externally and internally, there was products that came. A lot of Kingspan's own products that have never been used in Ireland before went into that building. Teams from America came over to help us install part of it. And that's their group, that's their headquarters. So they showcase this to the world, and that they're a global company. They're bringing in architects and consultants from all over the world to this premises. So that's a big one for us. And then the other one was an office fit out in Dublin in an old Georgian historic building on Thomas Street. It's called the Masonry. It's a co-shared working space, very much like here, but very high level finishes went into it, and it was our biggest project by quite a long way at the time. Hugely challenging, because we took a massive step up. It was probably a step that just almost was nearly too far, in terms of value and scale.
Yeah.
But again, someone gave us an opportunity, and we're working again with them clients on another few projects. So look, that it has won awards as well for us. So, you know, when you work on a project of a certain scale and it wins an award, it's obviously it stands out. So them 2 would probably be the 2 projects.
And which is the building or fit out that you wish you'd designed?
I like the convention centre in Dublin. I think it's very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And before I let you go, the purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and those ambitious entrepreneurs out there, maybe just started or have an idea to get started on their own business. You know, what words of advice would you give to anyone that might be listening right now? You know, like back in the day when you started up in the spare room in your parents' bedroom, unsure perhaps whether this would work out. What would you say to them? What's the best bit of advice you could give?
Don't be afraid, and do the right thing. You know, if you do the right thing and you're honest with those that you want to work with or that you're working with, everything will work itself out.
Thank you so much, Cathal, for joining me today. So fantastic. Cathal Grant there, of course, the founder of CGDM. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for joining me wherever you are today. And please, if you can, join me again for the next episode where I will be meeting Claire Vallely from Cocoon Rugs. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.